right, I'm going to call the September 14th meeting of the Macon County Board of Commissioners to order, and I'd like to welcome all of you in attendance. First item up on our agenda are announcements. Are there any announcements, Mr. Manager? Yes, sir. Mr. Bill?
Just a reminder that in 2 weeks we'll be enjoying the Macon County Fair. As far as we know now, everything's on schedule, and we're looking for a good turnout and a lot of participation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sounds good. Anything else? All right, if we'll all rise, let's observe a moment of silence, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Higdon to lead us in the pledge tonight.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to call our public hearing to order regarding the Community Transportation Program application. Ms. Kim Angel, our Transit Director, is here. Welcome, Kim.
Hi. Well, another year has rolled around.
Oh my gosh.
It is time to be looking at next fiscal year's grant cycles from FTA funneled through the Public Transportation Division of NCDOT. I believe you have a resolution before you that after this public hearing, if you so desire, to pass that resolution so we can apply for that funding. And I think Robbie had asked, I don't think anybody signed up to speak.
No one signed up to speak.
So I can go just real quickly. There are 3 grant applications: administrative, capital, and 5310 operating. Total administrative will be $208,827. Local shares 15% on that, which is $31,325. Capital, now this is impressive, only $24,000 for next year, because for the first year in several years we will not be replacing a vehicle. Of course, we have 7 in our fleet this year, so we're kind of caught up for a year, so get a little bit of a reprieve in buying new vehicles. That $24,000 represents tablets, new tablets to go in the vehicles that the drivers use. That's how they get their manifests. And there's also replacements for 4 of the computers in our office, and that's based on the county's replacement schedule. So for that $24,244, the match is going to be $2,425. It's a 10% match. And last will be the 5310 operating. We are asking again for $165,000. There's a 50% match on that. The good news is our rope funding has been restored in the North Carolina General Assembly. Well, I shouldn't say it has been restored. We believe it is going to be restored when the budget is passed this year and again for next year. So of that $82,500, this year we're expecting $72,029. No reason to believe that we won't get that same amount next year unless there is a budget cut for some unknown reason. So if you look at the total cost, it's $398,071 for grants. And if you take the $72,000 in what we will use for match from the rope money, the matching funds from county funds would be $44,221 based on these grants.
Thank you.
Is that in your budget?
Yeah, this is for next year's budget. It will be in the budget for 23.
Well, somebody will.
Somebody will.
I want to keep.
Is there anyone here in the public that would like to speak regarding 5311? Anybody like to speak regarding combined capital? Anybody like to speak regarding 5310? Any other further questions? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and we'll make a vote on it, I guess. Is it good? Anything else? Did I miss anything?
That is
Took
all
me
I have.
6 years now?
It,
Might have
it
got
did,
right.
and just a little bit of coaching, just a little bit of a reminder.
Thank you for helping me keep things in line. All right. Last chance. Anybody want to speak? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. I guess we can take immediate action on this. We'll get a motion to approve. Let's take them each individually, 5311.
The resolution is actually a combined
Is it
resolution.
combined? Well, perfect.
So we only need a motion and a second on
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I make the motion, we pass the resolution, Public Transportation Program Resolution, fiscal year 2023.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bill, second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. As the board members are aware, this will be Miss Angel's last appearance before this board as the transit director. Sir, I think you said next week is your
Next Friday
Final week.
is my last day, having served as the best and worst transit director so far. So, nobody will ever get to say that again. It has certainly been my pleasure to serve our residents and citizens here in Macon County, and I have grown up here. But I have been offered a really good opportunity to run a regional transit system that consists of 4 counties. I'll be moving to Hickory in a couple of weeks, and on to that next adventure. There are components of the public transit that I have not had experience in, and this will give me that experience.
This county will definitely miss you, but I don't think anybody up here would ever fault you for trying to improve yourself. So congratulations on that. And I don't think there's anybody up here that would disagree with the statement that you are always welcome home when you're ready.
Absolutely.
So come
I indicated
come
to
back if you don't like it.
I indicated to Mr. Rowland that there were certain stipulations that I'd be glad to come home in a few years too. So we'll see how this salary study goes. And maybe there'll be some things that'll be much more enticing at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim, for
Appreciate it,
everything.
gentlemen.
See you later.
All right. We'll open up our public comment period. First up, we have Mr. Robert Cook regarding incoming sheriff's salary proposal. Welcome, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, sir. I have a copy of this.
Thanks, sir.
First, I'd like to thank you for having me, or letting me have an opportunity to speak. As you know, the sheriff has decided to retire at the completion of his current term. He has earned his retirement, and I wish him good luck in his future endeavors. He is one of about 3 sheriffs in the state of North Carolina that have actually ended up with his 20 years as a sheriff, and he has earned that pay. And his salary rightfully reflects that service. I'm here tonight not about his pay, but the incoming sheriff's pay, whomever that may be. According to the North Carolina General Statute, GS 153A-92, the incoming sheriff shall be paid at the same rate as the outgoing sheriff unless there is a resolution by the county commissioners to reduce that pay. That's why I'm here tonight. That resolution must be made no later than 14 days before the last filing day of the office of the sheriff. And as I've said, Sheriff Holland has earned his pay, and I personally do not think that it's appropriate for the new sheriff with 0 experience as a sheriff that start out the same rate of pay as one whose pay has increased over 20 years of dedicated service. According to the Macon County pay scales, the sheriff's pay range is $73,958 to $110,937. As of 2019, according to public records that I was able to find, Sheriff Holland's pay was approximately $101,000, and maybe more now. Conversely, the average deputy in Macon County is paid around $34,000 a year. According to my research, as you can see, I've done North Carolina populations in order as of 2021, and you see Macon County falls, as far as population goes, in number 5 position. And I've also done the same research on the amount of salary for sheriffs, and Macon County, in 2019, sheriff salaries falls in number 4. Western North Carolina salaries comparison with similar populations, Macon County is number 3. As you can see, the Western North Carolina sheriff salaries, they are, for the most part, substantially different than Macon County sheriff. As you can see, the sheriff's salary is in line with other counties of similar size and population served. It's also in line with those across the state of North Carolina. The average salary for all sheriffs in North Carolina is about $105,000. Macon County Sheriff's salary is significantly higher than other westernmost counties. When compared to his pay, it is more towards the top end of the range indicated, and that's due to his years of service, which, like I said, he's earned. My recommendation to you is to reduce the incoming sheriff's salary to an amount that is equal to the lowest range that is advertised on your website, and that's around $73,900, or no more than 15% higher than the chief deputy's pay, whichever is less. I would also recommend that the top end be no more than $100,000, as opposed to the current $110,900. I feel this is more in line with other departments of comparable size and population service. Much like our current deputies, unless the new sheriff is able to remain in office for 20 years, his ability to reach even the mid-range should be difficult. I would actually be concerned if his pay rose, that it pays faster than that's realized by the other deputies. Currently, our deputies generally do not reach the mid-salary range of their promised salary, and therefore the sheriff should not, I don't believe, either. As a matter of fact, if I would recommend, or I'm sorry, finally, I request that the money that's saved from that reduction between the top salary of the sheriff's salary and what I recommend it be, I would recommend, or I would request that difference be split among the sheriff's deputies, sergeant and below. This is a budget neutral proposal. It's not going to raise it or lower it, but it is going to give the deputies at least those deputies that need it the most, a little bit of a pay raise. And our deputies' pay needs to be competitive with others. Now, you guys have heard this a number of times, but it needs to be competitive with other departments. And the only way we can do that is to pay them. And that's the only way we're going to be able to attract the best and the brightest. I would also point out, like I said, that this proposal is budget neutral. So I don't see a downside to it at all, unless, of course, you're the incoming sheriff and you're taking a lot less pay. But I think that we're not taking this job, and I'm sure Sheriff Holland didn't take this job to get rich off of. And I think that we should be at least in line with other westernmost counties. And I think that that this proposal would go a long ways towards helping the deputies on the street. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dylan Castle, Accountability. Welcome, Dylan.
I'm trying to keep it to the 5 minutes. I am a pastor and a preacher, so I'm used to going long on my own account, but this is not the house of God. It's not my pulpit, so I can't do that. So I'm a young man. I'll turn 28 this month, and I grew up in a conservative Christian home right here in Macon County, Franklin, and never really got involved in politics or anything really overly politically community involved aside from church events, youth group events, sporting events, those types of normal things, but nothing on the political level. Most of this was because I was raised the way most conservative kids were raised my age. We care about the president, we care about federal things, but everything else that falls down below doesn't seem to get an importance. You can blame that on the parents if you want, but that's how I was raised, and that's how a lot of my peers were raised. As I grew older, I understood the importance. My family is a military family. My parents both retired Air Force. So that flag means almost more than anything to me, aside from my salvation, my family, my wife, things like that. And so because of that, I really started to focus on what our country is all about and what that means here locally as well. I was kind of forced into learning more than I even wanted to learn because I was a high school government teacher for a little bit. And so I had to learn. That was not my specialty. Bible was my specialty, if you can call it a specialist in Bible. And so I had to learn very quickly what politics and government was really all about. And it's a shame that so many conservatives are so quiet. And I'm just going to assume that the majority of you would probably consider yourself a conservative. Doesn't matter to me if you would or not, but that's what I'm going to assume. And so with that, I just wrote accountability. All I'm here is this is my first time here, meeting with you, seeing you face to face this close. I'm just here to let you know that I would say I represent a large majority of people who are tired of the direction that not only our country, but our state, and yes, even our county and our city are going in. My concern is that our county is going to turn into what our state has turned into, which is what our federal system has turned into. The difference is I can stand here tonight and I can see you and I can look each one of you in the eye and I can tell you that your seat won't last forever. And the voters of Macon County asked you to come in here and to do a job. I'm not saying you haven't done that job, but I'm warning you that we've asked you to come do a job for us. I didn't vote, and those who voted didn't vote to ask you to do what the CDC thinks is best. I'm not saying to ignore the CDC. I'm telling you that we elected you. I didn't get to elect the CDC. I didn't get to elect our director of health, or whatever you call the person that runs the health department over there. I didn't get to elect them. You appoint them, but I did elect you. And so I'm just here as a cautious reminder, as the first time me being here, but I promise I'll be coming back, that, again, your seats are up for election, some now, some in a couple of years. Do what the community would like for you to do. Don't be afraid to take that stand. We're willing to back you. I can assure you the citizens of Macon County are willing to back you when you do what is right, what is morally acceptable. This idea that somehow we're going to let unrighteous people stand for righteousness' sake is absurd. But this county, I believe, is a righteous county filled with righteous people, and I would hope that you would consider yourself righteous men. So you have to make those righteous decisions, not the unrighteous decisions. That's what our county wants. Now, I could be wrong, but I think we all know if I am or not. And so I just simply ask you to take this into consideration. I don't plan to come in here and pick a fight and argue. I respect you as men who are wiser and older than I am, who have experience and knowledge that I don't have or don't understand. But at the same time, we're still peers. We're citizens of Macon County. We're citizens of North Carolina. We're citizens of the United States of America. And all of that needs to be a reminder. These budgets and these proposals and all these things that come before you, it's easy for you to kind of lose track of really the heart and soul of what's going on. Each one of you understand, the little bit I know of your backgrounds, I know you understand generational importance. The founders of our country, and I would say even the founders of our state and our county, understood decades and even hundreds of years down the road. Most politicians today are making decisions based upon their time in office. So I'm just begging you not to be those men. I'm imploring you to be righteous men, filled of character and what is right. And all else fails, the citizens of Macon County will ultimately get to decide. Thank you for the time.
Where do you pastor at, Dylan?
Thank you, sir.
I just started a house church, but we're called Freedom New Covenant Church. I was a former
Called
youth.
what?
Freedom New Covenant Church.
Freedom, where's that at?
Well, like I said, we just started this first year. I was a youth pastor at a local church in Silva, and God moved in my heart, moved me and my wife to open up a church. And so we're meeting in my house and then a house over in Silva for some that are over in that direction.
Good luck, Dylan.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Come on. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, Tracy Dogan. And I'm here to follow up on what I first brought to your attention back in February about animal control ordinances. And then I was passed to the planning board, and then the planning board passed me to the Board of Health. And I've been with the Board of Health since May, trying to get the revisions that I first attempted to get here. And they formed a committee to, what they told me was to make the revisions that I proposed and then present them to you. It seems like the Board of Health does not see themselves as in charge of animal control program, even though in the ordinances it states that they're in charge of the animal control program. And I'm having a hard time getting these revisions done for the animals. And I'm also here because at the last Board of Health meeting, Jimmy Villard was the only one who did some research on the animal control ordinances. And he did not make the revisions, but he proposed some new laws, which he was going to present to you all for entry. And I'm very much against the new proposals because I believe they will harm animals, and I have letters and petition signatures in opposition of what he's proposing. I just want to be here to state that there is opposition and we don't want those new laws entered, but we do want revisions that'll help animals. And the second thing is, there's been an argument over reporting to animal control can be anonymous or not anonymous. I had a retired judge and lawyer who also, used to do legal practice. He understands the law very well, read the North Carolina statutes and ordinances, and wrote a statement saying that as the law stands, our ordinances say that the reports can be anonymous. And that is a big deal here in Macon County because there's lots of animals being kept in backyards, tied up, and horses that are just skeletons. And if a lot of these people who want to call in anonymous, they can't give their name because they've already had run-ins with their neighbors. They're always neighbors who are going to see these animals are the ones that care enough to call in and can't afford problems with these people. So it's important that we uphold anonymity to reporting animal abuse or neglect. Neglect and abuse falls under cruelty, and there's too many animals that are visible and right now in Macon County, and nothing's being done about it. People who have called in, including myself, they go out there and they say there's nothing they can do. And the horse and goat and dog that I called in, the horse was almost dead. I was able to purchase him, so he just barely made it. And the goat, I believe, died, and the dog still suffers. And there's nothing. They don't do an investigation. They just talk to the person, and the person says, oh yeah, I'll put a shelter up. And they never do, and there's no follow-up. We need help with our animal control program. We really do. We need this decided and cleared up and, just ran properly. It's not being run properly, and no one wants to take charge. Like I said, I was passed around quite a bit before coming back to you because I'm told that you're the ones to enter the laws. I know you did sign the last amendments to the ordinances, so I can forward to you the revisions, again, that I was proposing, the statement on reporting being anonymous, and anything else you want, if that'll help. But that's what I'm here for. I just don't want the new proposals entered and help for these animals. So tell me what I need to do to get,
It would be helpful to me if you could forward those to what you had in February, back to the county manager, and he will see that we get them.
okay,
And then whenever whenever he comes, the health director's here now, she might be able to answer some of those questions, so.
okay. All right, so if, I'm gonna forward them to the county manager and y'all
He'll
will
give
look
them
at
to us,
them.
yeah.
And okay, and then maybe make a meeting about it,
Well, I
or,
think too, as Ms. Dugan said, that this has came before this board, and there's channels in place to look at these things, to review these things. This board has then directed this ordinance to get passed through those channels, and I think until such time as we've heard back from those channels that we passed this along to, I think this board taking any action would be premature.
okay. but,
Is there a time frame on that? Is there a time frame?
I don't know. Again, you know, I would anticipate that when the health department completes the health board completes their review, if they've saw fit after taking not only Ms. Dugan's concerns, but concerns overall regarding the whole ordinance, and they have had time to digest that and discuss those, I think at that time is when that this board should consider that. And of course, if Ms. Dugan has give her concerns to the health board, that would have been the appropriate place to give them.
but
Because they
the
are
health
reviewing.
board at the last meeting, they totally regarded all the concerns and such. And so they said they're gonna make their proposals to the county commissioners.
Well, and I would assume that, you know, did you submit them to them?
Yeah,
Okay, so.
they have everything.
They were, okay, so they have taken those and they have considered them, and I think, you know, that at such time when they come and present, that I'm sure they will, if they have disregarded them, they'll articulate it as to why, or why they did not put them in there, or why they did put them in there, or why they chose maybe to omit them, you know, but once they pass the ordinance back, it'll still have to be reviewed by legal counsel to be sure that it's in compliance with state law, and there's still quite a few more steps in the process before that any changes that are recommended actually become law.
Okay, but like, how do I find out when they're being presented?
It will be advertised, just like this meeting. There'll be an agenda that goes out, and it will, you know, it will have on new business discussion regarding proposed revisions to the animal control ordinance. Our agendas are sent out to all media outlets as well as posted on our website in advance of the meeting.
Okay, do we ever, we the public have time to talk, discuss the
Absolutely.
proposals?
There will be, before an ordinance can be adopted, there must be a public hearing, at which time anybody that has concerns to that ordinance will be able to come and they'll have had time. You can't adopt, it will have to first be presented to the board, and then in a later meeting, a public hearing must be held.
Okay.
So that is the built-in to give the public time to review that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Dugan, do you have one of your cards with you? I'll
Yes, in my
contact you.
purse I have.
I'll contact you when we get the information, and I'll tell you when it's on the agenda.
Okay,
You'll
thank you.
leave me your card.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else, public comment, would like to address the board? Going once, going twice? Sold. All right, we're gonna move on to additions to the agenda. I have one item. We've got a letter from Pine Grove School Community Club, I think that we need to discuss. Let's put that at the end of new business, so maybe let's put it as 11F. Actually, let's put it at 11E, because 11E will be removed. I had received a text just before the meeting as I was driving down the mountain from Representative Gillespie, our resolution for the consideration to keep one of our North Carolina wildlife resource officers in Macon County has been accepted, and he's going to remain here. So we don't need that resolution now, so we'll take it off. But Eric, fantastic resolution, great job. And I was really looking forward to passing that, because I thought it had some very valid and good points. But
I'll just take it off
sounds
the
like we
bill.
were successful without your help. So let's remove item 11E and replace 11E with the Pine Grove School Community Club. Other items?
On 11A, I'd like to have that removed till October board meeting.
All right, move 11A.
Mr. Chairman, could we replace 11A with discussion concerning Macon Middle School locker room facility?
Yes, sir. Be a good place for that.
Is that October the 12th? Or next?
I don't know, October something, I'm not sure the exact date.
That's correct.
12.
12th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Manager, anything else?
Yes, we do need to add an item under appointments. 13A, we'll be making an appointment to the Watershed Review Board.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner Shields, Commissioner Bill, Commissioner Young, Commissioner Higdon? Go ahead.
Continue discussion on that Haley Community Building.
All right, let's put that under old business, since we've been there. Item is
Really old business.
10B.
And you can remove, well, it's already removed. Oh, yeah, 10A. I don't have any, I'm researching that, so we're not prepared for discussion on that tonight. Discussion regarding electoral districts.
You must have you got the wrong agenda.
Huh?
You got last month's agenda.
That's what it just come up. Well, if it's on there, let's take it off.
That's not.
The first 5 or 6 are the same.
Yeah, what's a
I'm
month?
living in another world.
What's a month here now?
Mr.
Time
Ratner,
flies.
It's it's the government, it all runs together.
All right, can we get a motion to approve the agenda with the said adjustments?
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Shields, second by Commissioner Young, all in favor? Aye. All right, reports and presentations, COVID update, Kathy McGaha, Public Health Director, welcome Kathy.
Good evening.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hey, Kathy.
So we're here to give an update on COVID. We are, as Mike Sprayberry said, day 553 of the COVID-19 outbreak, week 79. So we have been in this for quite a while. The numbers today, we've got 395 active positive individuals in the county. We've had, sadly, 54 deaths. We've had several over the last couple weeks, and that's been really tough. Our current fatality rate is 1.2%, which is still somewhat lower than the state or the nation, but it's hard to see that number, no matter what it is. We have a positivity rate of 26.53 over a rolling 7-day period. So for
The highest ever.
no, it's been higher, but that's what it is as of yesterday. And our case rate is 775 per 100,000 population. So that allows us to be comparable, which, you know, we're seeing the same trends that the rest of the state is seeing and the rest of the nation is seeing. Macon County tends to be about 2 weeks behind when a wave of cases start, and, 2 weeks behind seeing that wave come to a conclusion. So right now we're in our 4th wave that we've seen. We saw one initially last year at about around May. We saw one at the beginning of the school last year. We saw one right around Christmas time get started, and of course this is our 4th wave. This has been, we're in week 8, it looks like, of this wave, and we're somewhat hopeful because we see that the state and the nation they're hinting at a plateau of this particular variant wave, which is the Delta variant. And again, we may be about 2 weeks behind, but they are seeing somewhat of a plateau, and we're hoping that comes to fruition here. It has been a long wave. The case wave around Christmas time in total was about 8 weeks. So right now we're seeing the rise happen over an 8-week period, and then we'll look to see that it falls over an 8-week period. So it's quite a lengthy case wave. Our hospitalizations as of today in Western North Carolina region, 84% of the ICU beds are occupied. We're seeing about 2/3 of total beds being occupied, but ICU beds particularly are right around 84%. And that's for the entire region, so all hospitals in this region.
Who is taking patients now? Is Memorial Mission the only one taking anybody? I know Silva's not, and
You know,
Haywood's not.
that tends to change because as people are discharged or moved to Mission, they have a bed open up. So that really changes pretty frequently. It's a constant moving target, really. I know that when there's somebody that needs to be admitted, it's a task to get somebody in an ICU bed. If you're being admitted for something other than COVID, it's a task getting you admitted to an ICU bed. Of course, even having the staff to cover those beds is a struggle. So it's hurting. It's hurting the hospital systems. It's hurting healthcare all over, and we're no different. It's hurting us here. We're not seeing that vaccine demand reflect the case numbers, which we had hoped. Where you're seeing the case numbers go up, our vaccine demand is just pretty much leveled off and is flat. So as of today, the state is showing us that 57% of our population being vaccinated with at least one shot, and 52% fully vaccinated, considered fully vaccinated. So I have a problem personally with that number because I know that our seasonal population skews that to some degree. So I think if you're looking at our year-round population, you wouldn't see that high of a percentage. That we have some ways to go to get people vaccinated.
How about booster shots? Are you able to do those now, or are we waiting on higher approval, higher
Yeah.
guidance? Okay.
And I'll get to that in just a minute. We got
What about the monoclonal
antibodies.
Can we set up some kind of center here, maybe to help with the ICU?
Well,
capacity?
there's particular needs that you would have to have, and we just don't have the capacity. I mean, we are literally bleeding staff. I mean, out of 63 positions, we have 15 vacancies, and we're struggling to maintain that. Those monoclonal antibodies require, there's a certain set of equipment that, and the state has really just come out with their standing order for that process, so.
Is there like a certain region maybe we can refer patients to? That's, I've heard Clay County is offering it.
Yes,
Maybe-
they are.
Maybe Graham County. Like, are we able to supplement?
Graham County, I don't think is, but Clay County has gotten one
Can
together.
we take advantage of that as a?
Yeah, I mean, it's not residence-based, so anybody from this area can go to Clay County and get those services. That's something that state did do, is you don't have to just go to your own county. You can go anywhere in the state and get the service that you need.
Is Clay County set up under the health department's guidance?
I'm not 100% sure about that. I know we've talked about it, but I don't know if they're running it or if they've contracted with somebody or if, I'm not sure what they've got in Clay County.
Clay County can do it. I mean, I'm not trying to throw a load on the health department, but what are our options as far as offering that?
I'd have to
Already?
investigate getting those here. I mean, it'd have to be an outside agency.
Just serious
To
stuff,
do. Yeah.
we're dealing with, so if we have to back up and.
And I know
come
that
up with some
I know
funding.
Clayton is offering that
Clayton's
too.
offering?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's hard. You see our patients leaving our county to go get treatment, and I've been asked 10 times lately, how can Clay County offer it? And so that's why I just wanted to ask.
They
if
are
there's a way
selling
to-
it out. It's a contract out of Broward, Georgia.
It's a contract out of Georgia.
Out of Broward,
Yeah.
Georgia.
Could we,
Yeah. I mean, we can look into it and see what we
whether
can
we
do.
contracted or however,
But the demand is very low
the what?
at Clay County, in Clay County.
Yeah, but
It's
the
not
population's
great.
very low. Whether it's low or high, I mean, if we're
What-
serious about this and offering people, local people, an option. I think it's,
When we're offering a vaccination, that's what the first choice
yeah.
is, get vaccinated.
And
And
we are
But you
getting,
get
And-
bugged, vaccines, mute point.
and we are getting a $20,000 grant, was announced this afternoon. It's a federal grant, that we can, there are some leeway in that. I'll be meeting with Kathy and the reason we got the grant, it was a federal grant that was just sent to us because Macon County is one of those counties that showed that people 60 years and older were not being vaccinated at 55%. So that's where that, and now that money, we can earmark it for a lot of things. There are some leeway in that to establish a program like with Meals on Wheels, or if we need to get with Joy and the EMS program, but that $20,000, you know, I asked the question that Josh brought up. Could we use some of that money? You really can't buy equipment with it. It has to be for programs, incentives, if you want to do that. It has leeways, but Sir J. Melton will be contacting you tomorrow.
Okay.
And it'll be through the Southwest Commission, but it is Macon County, and it's 6-month grant, but if we write the right program, it has a 3-month longevity program on it, so, and it increases every year after that, so we hope that that money will benefit in some of the things that, you know, because this equipment, the county has to furnish the equipment, unless you go to a subcontractor, and I don't even know nobody's doing it. I mean, they got them from Georgia, so I don't know. But anyway, that's good news, a little bit of good
Yeah.
news. But all the vaccines, and it's sad news to hear that they're just flat.
yeah, and that's really the best option. I mean, we don't want anybody getting sick and needing these monoclonal antibodies. What we want is to prevent people getting sick. It's not 100%, but the vaccine has the highest percentage of
The most
success.
telling thing you can see is the report out of Mission, 215 people that passed, none of them were vaccinated, not a one. That's the
Well,
most telling
it's-
statistics you
If
can
it's
see.
not 100%, it's real close. It's, it's real close.
415 and there were 2 people.
Oh, 415, I just seen the 212.
It was 2.
It's a very high percentage.
Oh, yeah, 99,
And really what they're seeing is those that have passed that were vaccinated were in that 65 and older population. So, and we don't want any of that to happen.
no.
What we want is you to get vaccinated.
Well, I mean, there's people who can't get vaccinated.
You're
I mean,
right.
And we know there's a large pool, and so if those people do become sick, I feel like it's our job to provide treatment and adequate treatment.
It's not a large pool, but it is,
Well,
there's
it's-
a
the
small
fact is
portion of
there's still
people that
Maconians.
can't get vaccinated. And that's why we hope that everyone that can gets vaccinated, so we can protect those people that can't
I just would like
and
to see some
slow this
effort placed
vaccine
forth.
infection.
I just would like to follow up and see what we can do about potentially opening up the treatment center, expanding our treatment center. At least let's try. Let's
Yeah.
at least
Yeah,
put some
I agree.
effort forward.
On this, I mean,
You know, if they're at 85% capacity in the ICU and these treatments could actually help, let's help prevent them from getting in the ICU. From what I understand, the first 5 days is critical. And maybe that can prevent that. Maybe you know something different, but that's what I've read.
not to load your wagon, because we got environmental health issues we gotta discuss. I mean,
Oh, it's loaded. My
If-
wagon's loaded.
Is there someone we could appoint? We don't need to wait till next month or next month. I mean, these infusion centers, the vaccine, yeah, if you got the vaccine, fine. But if you've got COVID, the vaccine's a moot point. The vaccinated and unvaccinated get sick.
Yeah, we need you to get here, get vaccinated. It takes sometimes up to, depending on the type, up to 6 weeks before
Yeah.
you're fully
But if you've got
immunized.
COVID, it doesn't matter we've been vaccinated. Well, it might alter it a little bit if
Yeah.
you've been vaccinated, but that's the clientele that are looking for infusion centers. If Jackson County can offer it, if Clayton can offer it, why can't Macon County offer it? Is there someone we can appoint to research that or get with?
I mean, we can research it and get you the information.
Yeah, and if it requires some special funding or whatever, I think the citizens of Macon County deserve that. And,
There's a lot of hospitals refusing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mission being one. Several of them are not doing that. In health departments, you have to have a hospital to verify that. You can't just go on the health department and do it. There has to be a hospital involved. The way I
That's a-
understand it.
yeah,
They're
there's
doing
a,
it
there's a,
at the urgent care.
Yeah, but it's through a hospital. That urgent care is hospital-based.
so,
So that's out of my league, but I just, if they can do it in Clay County.
We can do
Call HCA, I'm sure they'll hop right
yeah.
on.
I've got, there's some conversations that I can have to see what's the potential and see if we can look into that. So, with that said, to tell you what we're currently doing, we're doing a lot. We've got the call center going, where the call center's making testing appointments. We've got, obviously, an increase in testing going on right now because of this wave. We've got vaccine appointments, which aren't high enough. We wish that they were higher. And we're also still doing contact tracing, case investigation with all 400 people that are positive. So it's a lot. It's a lot of individuals working to get everything coordinated and to take care of this community like they deserve. We are testing 5 days a week. Right now, because the demand is low, we're vaccinating on Wednesday mornings and Thursday mornings. And we've introduced the third dose of Pfizer for the immunocompromised. So we've been doing that as well. We're also a big part of the school's contact tracing with the school nurses and our staff. That takes a lot of time to see if a student can be in school or the teacher can be in school and how long they have to be out. I mean, that's a whole conversation when that happens about when they can come back to school and their family and their students, and it takes a long time.
Do we have like a black and white protocol of quarantines, contact tracing, exposures? Like, is there something that's cut and dry, black and white, that we can access and
It's
say?
the North Carolina School Toolkit for the schools, and then the CDC and DHHS provide the guidelines for the general public.
Right, so there's nothing that we can pull up
If
within
you
our
pull-
county and say, if I've been exposed here,
There is, it's complicated, it's not easy, it's very complicated.
like that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Like it seems like everybody who comes to me about this issue, it's frustrating for me because this isn't my department nor my expertise. But they're saying two of the same situations occur. One of them's quarantined for 14 days, one of them's quarantined for 10 days, and one of them goes to school the next day.
Well, many times they don't know the whole scenario, and that's, we can't breach that confidentiality in no way. So someone may be vaccinated that they didn't believe that person would have gotten vaccinated. We've got a lot of people that have gotten vaccinated, and, they're not necessarily known to have gotten vaccinated. So it changes if you're vaccinated, and it changes the scenario if you've got symptoms, or, so each case is handled on a case-by-case basis, and each family is handled on a family-by-family basis. So it's hard to compare the situation. We also have an issue going on in the jail right now. Sheriff Holland, I don't know if he's still here. We've been working with the jail staff and getting testing and we've been offering vaccine for any inmate or detention officer, obviously. But we've had some positives in the jail, and we've been handling that outbreak as well. Right now, we don't have any outbreaks in the nursing homes, which is they've done a wonderful job maintaining, limiting visitation, encouraging their staff to get vaccinated. So we really are grateful for that. And our next couple of operations that we're going to be looking at taking on is we're going to be offering flu shots. So here we go with another vaccine that we've got to offer. So we're going to be doing that, as well as you've been hearing the third dose is coming up more than likely. We don't have all the details of the third dose and what that's going to look like exactly, but we will be issuing press releases once we nail down the scheduling for both the flu shots and the third dose. We're waiting to hear some of the information from the state. Some of the issues that we're dealing with is fatigue. Our staffing is just, they've been going at this for 79 weeks. And like I said, we've got 15 vacancies in out of 63 positions, and it's hard. They have been working very hard with the community. They've been getting bashed, dealing with it at times. That's okay for a short period of time, but for a long period of time, it gets really hard. And we're not able to easily replace those vacancies. There's a high demand on just about every position that we have right now. So it's a struggle, and it's a constant reminder, that we're all trying to build each other up constantly and recognize the hard work they're doing and the good work that they're doing. We have the National Guards here helping until December the 3rd. So we know we'll have them through this flu vaccine period and hopefully through most of the 3rd dose vaccine period. They're also helping with the testing. That definitely is a big help. We wouldn't be functioning as well as we are without them. So I appreciate all the phone calls. You guys help make those phone calls to make sure that happened. We also have staff through an agency called CCNC. It's a state agency. They're having a lot of trouble finding staff for us as well. I mean, that we've not been able to get a nurse through that agency since this started. We've gotten help with people to help answer the phones, and contact tracing, but not nursing staff.
They're a temp agency.
Now, they're a state agency that was started because of the outbreak and is meant to support local health departments. It's just a struggle to find the staff that we
I'm
need.
sure every county's.
Yeah, yeah.
Those 15 now, Kathy, do you have some that's out, but that is 50, you said 15 vacancies?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're advertising for those jobs on a regular basis?
I had 2 of those were today. So, yes, I've got everything that I've known about advertised.
But it's
And it's been advertised for a long period of time. So, even when we see someone move up in a promotion type scenario, it's who's going to fill their vacant slot. And that's, we're not seeing the overall capacity getting solidified. And that's really hard on everyone.
Are there temp agencies that deal with that?
There are, I mean, there's some, but
There are
there's,
that deal with
yeah,
hospitals and-
they're just not out there right now. I mean, the hospitals are demanding nurses and, the rate, we can't compete with the salary,
Can't
and
compete, understand.
so. We're also dealing with the fact that our staff and their family members are, we're in a wave right now. So some of them have become positive and their family members have become positive, so they've had to be out with kids or, so not only we have those vacancies, but we're dealing with the same impact of this wave that everybody else is. So it's definitely hard.
These people that's leaving, Kathy, is it strictly salary? Are they overworked, underpaid, or?
Well,
are you
all
doing
of the
exit
above.
interviews with them?
I can tell you they're overworked and underpaid.
Is that what they say
But
in the exit
I think an
interview?
outbreak is gonna overwork, I mean, it's taken its toll. I can tell you it's a money issue. There is cases that it's a money issue. There's cases of people just simply being burned out. There's a
A lot of
individual,
overtime?
even with overtime, they just can't do anymore, there's people considering different careers because they just are tired of it and exhausted. And, appreciation helps when it's given, and they suck that up and really, appreciate that level of gratefulness. But there's money issues, there's burnout issues.
Have you done exit interviews with all these folks?
And yeah, all but one, yeah,
Being that you let go, you probably could.
all but one.
Okay. And that was the theme,
There-
too much to do, and
Obviously, we're in the middle of an
Some people you
outbreak,
can pay $1 million an hour and they still ain't gonna do nothing, so.
but I don't want that to stop paying these people what they need to be paid. I mean, yes, the money helps, and they deserve it. They deserve every penny of it, and then some. They are truly incredible individuals working for this community. And I know some of you have talked with them yourselves and have experienced some of that. So, they're working nonstop trying to talk families through this scenario, get people safe. There's some heartbreaking stories I could go into.
Is other health departments experiencing the same thing?
Exactly the same thing. We talk routinely. It's the life of this outbreak right now. There's high demand, low supply of staff. It's very difficult to keep the morale up. Everybody is, overworked, exhausted, because they will independently want to do the absolute best they can until the point they'll burn themselves out. And you have to tell them, just go home. You got to go home at some point. And we've been doing
You
this for a
spoke to the county manager about that?
Yes, he knows.
Huh?
He understands. Yes, he knows and he
What do you do
understands.
about it, anything?
He's working his, off, trying to
The
deal with it.
doctor's office experiences the same thing.
I think yes, to some degree, yes, they are. We've been trying to support them as best we can. We've got a couple of them that have offered to, we supply them with vaccines so that when their patients come in and all of a sudden want a vaccine, they have it on hand and they can give it.
And that's gonna be one of your relief valves, is the fact.
But they're dealing right now in this wave, they're dealing with all, the COVID individuals that are positive but don't need to go to the ER or the hospital. And they're just as overrun. If you talk to any one of them, no,
You can't, this
No.
is unusual, so you
and
just have to adjust
and keep moving forward. And that's what we're doing. We're trying.
We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Where are we at on environmental health? That's another.
You want to talk about environmental health? So, with some of those vacancies are in environmental health. And of course, we've at the same time seen quite a bit of influx of applications come in. People want to be here. Right now, we've got 146 applications in. That's wells and on-site. But that's a lot for us. We have 3 gentlemen that are employed that are working on this right now. I have communicated with Derek and Lori and with Paul about trying to get doing a budget amendment so that I can contract with some environmental health staff from other counties that are willing to help Macon County on their time off. So that's in place if you guys are willing to consider that.
the budget amendment. The money's in your budget.
I'm moving money from lap salary to contracted services so that we
Budget
can,
amendments in the consent agenda.
I mean,
Say it again,
I think it's imperative.
Budget amendments in the consent agenda to do
Oh, well,
what she's saying.
Are they agreed to come?
yes, I've got everything in place and as soon as you approve it tonight, we're gonna be,
You got
there's
any
4 of
applicants
them.
To replace for Kyle and the other boys that are working?
I've got 1 application for the supervisor position. And then, like I said, when you fill that, it's filling the vacated slot that possibly can happen. If somebody
Well, how many
steps in
people Are
from,
you down in environmental health?
I think 4.
4? Are they all
One-
inspectors?
3 of them, I think, are wells and on-site, and 1 of them's food and lodging.
You got 4, you
4.
got 3, then you got to train then you got
Yeah, we got,
intern or whatever you want.
yeah, and, there's, We do have another environmental health specialist, but he's not authorized yet, and he actually goes to CIT training the end of this month.
And you can
And there's-
advertise from now in the time, and you're not gonna get any applicants. Every county, and I deal with this in it, Western, you're not gonna get any applications.
Between the health directors, we know we're just competing with higher numbers. They're rotating between counties, and we're losing the competition right now.
Do you prioritize when the applicants that come in for building, for a new house? Do they take priority over somebody wanting to do a subdivision that's speculating land, or?
We have
Do you
certain-
We had a prioritization system at one time.
And there is still that level of priority. Of course, repairs and complaints are given priority. We have what we call due diligence. If somebody's piece of property, they're, I can't.
Closing.
Yeah, they've got a closing, and they're waiting, they have to have something in order to, the transaction to go through, we give that a priority. And of course, finals, any final that we're doing, that takes time. So there is a priority system, but other than that, it's first, the oldest date.
Jack, do you have a clue of how many's being held up right now for building permits?
Don't have a number, but it's substantial.
Substantial. That's what wags the dog.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Well, we've lost these employees, what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? I think it's imperative we make a decision. Hey, we're gonna do internal
Yeah,
advancements,
yeah.
get the money, get a hold of these guys, let your environmental health supervisor or program coordinator, whatever, set up a schedule with them.
Yeah, that's all set, ready to go, as soon as you,
Get them here. Now, one of the best would be, he's in Swain, in Haywood County. He's retiring this winter. One of the top-notch environmental health specialists in the state. He's willing to come, but his supervisor won't let him out of Haywood County right now. He'd been working in Caldwell, and they went private. They went to a soil group. Is it Caldwell?
Caldwell County.
Went with they did away with their environmental inspectors.
And Burke County's looking at the same thing.
And went with the soil group. But the soil groups are all.
They're
booked up
just
3
as
months.
booked up.
Everybody's busy. This is a boom. We have a COVID boom, we have a building
Yep.
boom, and it's imperative to the economy, of Macon County, that we get on this now. That decision needs to be in the morning when you go back to the health department, say, here's what we got. We're doing it. And, let's get, and let's, we'll keep trying to we've got some people possibly could do the contract work. And see, these contracts, they can name their prices right now,
yeah.
just like in the private sector. So let's make a decision here. When you're through, I'll make a motion.
I'm
You through?
It's in the
We're gonna
consent
handle it on
agenda.
the consent agenda.
Oh, it's on the consent, good deal. Consider it done.
Anything else about environmental health?
Let's just get it.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Good luck, Kathy.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Just stress, that's all it is, Kathy. It's it.
All right, moving on to old business.
Mr. Chairman, could we
sure.
add one more item? I'm sorry, I left this out. Item number, it's gonna be new business, 11F, the Franklin High School Architectural Services. We received the response from the committee for the RFQs on that.
Which agenda you on?
What month?
We talk about the same thing every month.
All right, old business, Macon Middle School locker room bid tabulation. Do I need to,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you'll see that in your agenda packet. What we had Novus, of course, picked that up, the architectural services on that. We had one responding bid. At the bid price was $2,347,000. At this time, the county has budgeted for that $1,053,868. The contractor has since reached out to the county and has invited us, if we would like to sit down and go through some value engineering on that, to see if we can get that price down a a little bit. At the moment, we received those bids on August 18th, 2021. Those bids are good until October 17th. So if the board is so inclined to move in that direction, if they want to let the liaisons look at that and discuss that, the Liaison Committee with representatives from the school board, we again have, these bids are good till October 17th. So I think under this current bid we have, we could go forward and do that if the board would so choose to value engineer that.
A no-brainer.
Yep, I mean, I'd be more than willing to sit down and discuss. Hopefully, Mr. Shields, I know he'd be likely to join us, and I'd love to hear what they have to say. I'd love to see what options they can present to us. I spoke with Jack a little bit ago. I mean, I'm not opposed to a nice metal building over in Swain County, right along the football field. They've got a really nice metal building, a little bit of a knee wall of rock, glass openings. Jack, right now with the price of metal, it's a toss-up, but I'd like to just look at other options and hear what they have to say.
With that being said, we'll be happy to schedule a meeting with the Liaison Committee and maybe invite the contractor, Jack, and sit down and go over some options.
Yep. You need a motion for that?
Just a
I think that's
consensus.
just a head nod. I think everybody's in agreement with that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item 10B, the Nantahala Community Building, Commissioner Higdon.
Been talking about it for months, years. I think we need to decide, we've got the building sitting there, and if the board will entertain a motion, I'll make a motion addressing the situation in Nantahala. I think we need to get an architect on board. Have a committee of two from, if the library wants to partner, 2 members from the library, 2 members from the community club, and 2 members from at large in the community, and form a committee as to the highest and best use of that property.
Did the school board make a decision?
The school board has not made a formal decision. I did speak with the superintendent, who informed me that, they probably won't take that up. With the representative from the Nantahala community would not be in favor of having the library located at the school. And with that being said, he felt like that the board would
I mean, he's
be,
on that board?
well, with that being said, he felt like the board would be inclined to agree with the representative from that community.
Just let them vote up or down.
Well, so we're gonna, I think.
We can go ahead with Paul's motion, whatever, but that board needs to vote up or down. Let them people over there know how the school board voted.
Well, we can't wait forever on the school board, so
No,
So
it's
can
not
you-
their decision.
What was your motion again, Paul? I'm sorry.
My motion would be, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we authorize Derek Rowland to, and working with Jack, to solicit an engineer, an architect, to do a preliminary design of the building in Nantahala by forming a 6-member committee, 2 representatives from the library if they're interested in participating, 2 from the Nantahala Community Club, and 2 non-associated at-large members of the public, to which I'll nominate one and then let him recommend another. Just 2 people that are not tied to either board. And you can narrow that down all you want to, Derek, but you know the gist of the motion.
what architect pool have we got to choose from?
I think we have talked with an architect in Jackson County that does a lot of the smaller county projects for Jackson County. Jack has been talking with him. I think that, or if the board would like to, however they would like to do it. I mean, it's such a small project. Usually it's handled by a resolution exempting architectural services, and we contract with an architect and go ahead and get it done rather than going through a bid process for a project that's going to be so small.
Jack's comfortable working with one, yeah. This is where we really miss our friend Tom Ritter.
Yes.
We really do, so.
Is there another local architect? I mean, that's not my cup of tea.
I don't know of any. There's one in Highlands. and-
Yeah, Mr.
But they're not taking work. They're not
There's
taking
several in
work.
Highlands, but I don't know anybody up there that'll accept anything.
They won't take no work.
We've got an architect from SGA right here.
I can do what, Jack? I can't read. I'm a lip reader.
This is one of the architects for the middle grade school is going to talk to y'all now about the progress there. From SGA that we
You
currently.
looking for a little side job?
I think
Start next week? Just let Derek and Jack work to, and could,
Well, what
will you bring a proposal to us?
We will have to bring a resolution back next meeting. In the meantime, we'll have to negotiate with the architect, get a price, and we can informally get a couple prices. They have to be below a 49.9 threshold to be able to exempt the service. So we'll have to informally get a couple proposals, see what their timeline is, and come back to the board with options in October.
Now, will you charge that architect with just doing a preliminary
No, we
design?
won't charge the architect, we'll negotiate, we'll show the architect what we have of the building, kind of give him an overview of what we expect, and we'll get a proposal back from the architect. We'll contact multiple architects, and at such time, if those proposals are, fall within the range of being able to have a resolution that exempts that service, then we'll bring that resolution along with that proposal back to the board in October.
Deal. Thank you, guys.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to proceed in that direction.
I'll second.
We got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Aye. Let the record reflect Commissioner Bell opposes. The other four commissioners are in favor. All right, thank you. New business, discussion concerning Macon Middle School. Thought we just did that. Locker room facility.
I think we just did, right?
Did we handle that in the previous item, Mr. Manager?
Which month are you
This
on?
was an addition.
Look at the top of the page, it'll tell you what month it is.
December here.
Hey, you don't have to act like me, guys. You know, somebody needs some sanity here.
Yeah, we did, we had that on there twice. I meant to add the,
All right.
You excused them, Paul.
We'll talk about it next month too. It doesn't matter.
I like topics that go by that quickly. All right. Item 11B, grant request for Macon County Emergency Services. Mr. Warren Cave, Emergency Management Director. Warren, thank you for being here, and thank your team too. I've had numerous conversations with Warren, and just like Kathy, they're battling similar situations. So we appreciate y'all, Warren.
I think you actually probably got this in your packet.
We got it.
You got budget
Is it the same?
What department is it? Community care paramedics?
You got budget.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So I'm here tonight to ask for approval to apply for and accept two different grants. First one I'm going to talk about is the VIA Health Grant. We were approached, I think either the day of or the day after the last board meeting. And VIA Health had some funding left over from a project that they wanted to put into the community health initiative and asked us if we had any kind of a project that would fit the program that they were looking for. We've actually worked with those folks before with our community paramedic program. We've had with the mental health facilities that are here, our community medics have had training on mental health issues, and we've dealt with some of their patients along the way. So we've had a relationship with these agencies before. And a lot of that ends up being medication reconciliation. But long story short, they were familiar with some of the things that we did. But we were under a very tight deadline. We had 2 days to get a project together to get to them. So we submitted them a project, and they have basically agreed to fund 13 weeks, 2 days each week of our community paramedic program for home visits, so 26 total days. Dating back as far as July 1st, which includes salary and expenses for those 2 days a week. And they have agreed to fund a software program The record keeping program we currently have is separate from our normal EMS charting system, and it's separate from the hospital system, but they've agreed to fund the program so that the charting for the home patients will be tied to the regular charting system, so those records can actually flow back and forth. And the system actually can tie into the hospital system, so we can dip into some of those records and actually, it's more like a physician's office record as opposed to emergency medical record. So they have agreed to fund, upon your acceptance, $11,200.78. So I'm asking for approval to apply for, which I've already done, and accept the grant and approval of the budget amendment that you have attached there. And you'll notice that the budget amendment states $11,201. Lori Hall doesn't do cents, so we rounded up to $11,201, which is why there's about a 30-some cent difference there.
Motion to approve.
So we've got a motion to approve the grant and the budget amendment by Commissioner Bill, second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. The second one is actually through the Nantahala Health Foundation. It's the Collaborative Health Innovation Project application. One of the things we've been working on with the Fire Commission is we are putting together an incident management team for our land searches. What we found is that particularly when we have lost persons or we have carryouts, we typically are experiencing a manpower issue. Some of those are requiring much more manpower to get into these places. Macon County has about 90 miles, at least 90 miles of trails over about 16 different trails. So we were looking at some projects on how to get those folks out. The state has some resources, but typically those resources are so far away that we can't wait on them to get here to do what we do. And particularly if it's an injured patient, particularly places like the Appalachian Trail that are deep back somewhere, we can't wait on somebody to come 4 or 5 hours with a helicopter and then may get grounded somewhere before they get here. So typically those are carryouts. So we looked at a collaborative effort with fire departments, and we were putting together a team of 2 or 3 qualified people from each fire department that will be trained on how to deal with wildland search and rescues. It takes special people to do the backwoods stuff. You don't want just anybody back in there. We started looking at equipment that might be helpful for us, and we paid a visit to Glenville-Casher's Rescue Squad. And we have access to ATVs and UTVs and 4-wheel drive vehicles, and we can get into Forest Service roads when necessary if the Forest Service is involved. But what we found is a lot of those things don't fit. And Glenville-Casher's actually uses something called a Rocon. It's a 2-wheel drive motorcycle that's like an ATV. If you've ever seen one, they're fairly unique. We actually sent some folks over there to use them. They used them on Ellicott's Rock down in that direction quite a bit. So we talked to 2 of the fire departments. 2 of the fire departments wanted to partner with us on the grant application. Those 2 departments are Otto Fire and Rescue and West Macon Fire and Rescue, because typically for the Appalachian Trail, those are the 2 departments that are on either end that passes through Macon County for the most part. So what we wanted to do was ask the Nantahala Health Foundation for $30,000, which will fund 2 of those vehicles, a trailer to put them in, the safety equipment to go with them, and it'll be upkept and maintained by us and the fire departments and used by anybody in Macon County. There's no match. We don't know when. It could be December before we find out anything with this one. But there's no match required, and it would be a shared resource for all those agencies.
Get a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Young. Second by Commissioner Higdon. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Let me
Again,
just-
Warren.
Mr. Chairman, wait a minute, Warren, let's go back to the community care program, because Warren just breezed through that. What he didn't say is, this was started before the pandemic. We're going on our 4th year in this program. We are probably Warren's department is probably one of the leaders in the state on the community care paramedic program. It's hard to keep the data of how many people that's kept out of the ER, Warren. It's hard, but I know for a fact, it's numerous. And so, just like to say a shout out to Joey Gibson and to Warren and all the people that work there, and the man that makes this happen, and that you don't know his name's Donald Ross. He handles the money for Value. So, it's just appreciated. Many people in the community know about that, but the ones that have the service warrant know exactly about it. So I just wanted to make sure that we had a little something in there to remind the folks how important a program this is and how unique a program this is throughout the state and the United States as far as that goes. So we appreciate it more.
I asked the question this morning. One of the things that we're still doing, we do home vaccinations. We're able to partner with the health department and still do vaccines from their supply and do home vaccinations for those folks. And right now, as of this morning, we've got about 90 patients in that program. Typically, we would run about 65. There are some very dedicated individuals over there that we pull off the truck to do their home visits. Today, for instance, we don't have, we have a staffing issue. We have, out of our 41 full-time staff, we have 7 vacancies. So when you throw those vacancies in and the sicknesses we've had, and I've got 2 folks that are waiting to see where we're at on our pay study to figure out what they're gonna do, unfortunately. So we've had to be very creative on how we kept these programs up. Today, we had 3 of the community medics working today. We won't have any tomorrow. So we've had to kind of fly with the punches on how to keep that program maintained. But those folks do a really good job. And I actually asked the question to Todd Doster this morning. I said, if I get asked the question, how do I know how many people we have kept out of the back of that ambulance? And it's hard to tell. We can put our finger on some, but we also know that there's some that just because those folks visit, they don't call an ambulance to come just check them or have something what we would call a refusal. We'd have a resource evaluating them that's not available for Josh Young or Paul Higdon or whomever. So there's a lot of that we can't put our finger on, but I do know that's a very popular program, particularly with those folks. I would probably get run out of town if we decided to undo that program.
One of them things we
So
can't
we're
undo.
not going to undo that program.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Warren.
Thanks, sir.
All right, consideration of change order for Macon Middle School project. Mr. Jack Morgan, Planning, Permitting, and Development Director. Welcome, Jack.
Well, thank you for having us. Very busy tonight. I'd like to turn this position over to one of our architects from SGA and MR Wright at the Macon Middle School. Who's going to give you an upgrade and talk about the change order.
Can you repeat your name again? I'm sorry.
My name is Chris Coleman.
Chris Coleman.
Yes,
Welcome,
sir.
Chris.
Appreciate everybody's time. Similar to what Jack was saying, just wanted to kind of give a brief update of where we are on the middle school project. Currently, we are done with phase 1. If you're familiar with that school, that would encompass what we call the center core area, cafeteria, a little bit of work we were doing in the locker rooms. Currently, we're wrapping up phase 2, which is what we call the east wing, which faces the parking lot and the bus area. We're looking to turn that over here within the next week or 2. So all in all, I would definitely have to give a nod of the cap to New Atlantic Construction. They're doing an excellent job. They're keeping their foot on the gas. We're in constant communication with them daily, multiple times a day on any issues that come up. We try to work them out as best as we can. So with that, I think from a scheduling standpoint, they are slated to be ahead of schedule. So that definitely is a plus for the project. Coming out of this first phase, there were some cost implications, so that's some of what we wanted to talk about today. I'm going to kind of walk through them out of order. I think you may have them in your packet. I'll kind of go from smallest implication to the largest. The first one was $11,469,000. That was related to the new rooftop. That would be PCO number 6 in your package. That is related to the complete change out of the HVAC systems at that school. When we first started the job back in the spring, early summertime, we're in a volatile climate right now in terms of manufacturers and materials. We got an email through New Atlantic Construction basically saying that the manufacturer, Daikin, had bumped us to the back of the line. To get us back on schedule with their production schedule, there was I like to call it a jump the line fee, which was about $80,000. We had that conversation internally and said that was something that we were not interested in paying. So what we did was we were able to circle back with our engineers along with New Atlantic Construction. We talked with Jack, we talked with Tracy Morgan over at the school. What we decided to do was not pay that amount. In turn, we would just receive the units as they are issued through production. Currently, we have about 60% of those units, and we're trying to work out the schedule when we can actually install those in a succession plan that does not, I guess it minimizes disruption to the school. In doing that and not paying that amount, what you're seeing how that amount for $11,469, that covers an additional crane, manpower, and the trade-off on that was instead of we're going to use curb adapters for those new roofing units. In doing that, there was some credit give back from the construction team where we did not have to do a lot of the structural work related to the roof joists up on that roof because these new units are much lighter. So that there was a credit for that. So that is that PCO number 6 that you see there. The next one I'd like to talk about is PCO number 9. That is for $16,254. That is related to a mixed bag of items. If you kind of flip to page 2 of that document, just kind of run through those. For example, number 24, duct to admin area under the mezzanine. With the new HVAC units that we were putting in that phase 1, specifically in the library area, once we got into the demolition side and was getting ready to activate the renovation, once we started tearing out the walls, there were some structural items and some structural issues that were not allowing us to actually install the design the way it was. So what we had to do was back up, get with our engineering team, and we were actually able to reuse some of the existing ducts that were in the school. We've vetted those properly. They're perfectly fine, perfectly clean to put those back online. So that's what we did. But the trade-off on that was we installed new supply grills everywhere in that center core area with the library. So that's what some of that cost is. The ramp flooring, that was, while we were in design, I think we actually changed through alternate, the type of flooring that we were actually going to put into the project. And in doing that, we covered the administration area, all the other areas that were not originally a part of the base bid. However, that was covering just going from the ramp, from the main entry level down into library areas. That's what that was for. The soffit vents, based off the original scope of the design intent, just to make sure we were staying aligned in budget, which I think we executed that pretty well based off the bids that we have. But now that we were actually in the renovation portion of it, we decided to actually go back and make everything a little bit more consistent with the soffit vents, and then also just kind of put those conditions back similar to what they have. Relocating the sidewalls, that was a decision that we all made collectively as a architectural contractual construction team. Especially with that new roof that we're placing on the school, we wanted to minimize the amount of roof penetrations that were going back, so it was better vetted to mount those on the side of the building instead of actually penetrating the roof for that. 2x2 toilets around the 2x2 infill around the toilets, that is a minimal cost. I think that was about maybe $300-400. That was the impact of replacing toilet fixtures where you have smaller tile. And that was just a simple matter of putting it back as best as possible to match it. And add exhaust ducts in the admin bathrooms. Quite honestly, the existing conditions, there were no exhaust ducts in those bathrooms. So to put it back from a code standpoint and to kind of minimize some of the problems that we had before we actually started the project, that is some of those items for that. Number 7 is for just over $28,000. If you flip to the second page of that item, it is talking about the exterior soffits. That's related to some lighting. What we wanted to do was just kind of provide more of a clean look. There were some areas where the soffits where we did not have lights. We decided to put those back. Also in doing that, the climate of COVID, there's been delays across the board for a number of materials. So in order to get certain materials or certain lighting packages or lighting fixtures, there was a slight cost increase on that. The biggest highlight of that package is the second and third items. I'll start with the third, the locker rooms, the 2x4 light retrofits. That was simply just an unforeseen condition. When we came through and did the original kind of field data to verify some of the existing conditions, We were, as a design team, and even the contractors were under the impression that was a gypboard or sheetrock ceiling. Once we got into the demolition phase, we were able to realize that that was a plaster ceiling. Anybody knows anything about that, to install the new lights, to replacement lights for that scope of work, we were talking about a difference of about 1.5 inches to 2 inches to make those work. So that would have been more cost prohibitive or inhibitive to force the contractor to cut out the additional 1 to 2 inches to force those new lights to work. So it was cheaper or more economical to retrofit those and actually to just save on manpower for that. The number 4, where we're talking about the 600 amp breaker panel, we were trying to pull power from an existing panel that was in that existing electrical room. Once we got to that renovation scope, it was determined that that panel was pretty much maxed out. So from an electrical standpoint, when we were tying in the new switch gears, we kind of had to pick from a new panel. So that was what that cost was inhibitive of. And last but not least, that is the elephant in the room, is for the fire alarm. That is for just over $97,000. The big package with that is when we had the fire alarm contractor come out to the school, verify the existing conditions in preparation for their scope of work. It was determined that extra fixtures or devices were needed to be added to that. In doing so, that has tripped the amount of fixture counts or device counts that the existing fire alarm panel would have. We've had extensive conversations with the fire alarm contractor. The silver lining in that, they did anticipate replacing that panel in their base bid amount for that, so that was not inhibitive.
Say that again a little slower. They did not.
The fire alarm contractor did include replacing of the panel in their bid. This cost is primarily the materials, labor, and the added devices that we had to add for that system to bring it up to code. Quite simply put, that system is well over 30 to 40 years old, and over the years with
Why are we talking about it now? Where was that at? Wouldn't that be caught in the front end instead of now, $100,000?
No, from our prior engineering teams, they've since left and taken other jobs, but I've had extensive conversations with them. The intent was, even when they had talked with the fire alarm reps, they felt like they could modify that existing system without having to fully replace it. The caveat where we get to this point is the code issue is you're fine with the system not being in sync throughout the school, but the problem lies is if we take the east wing, if we've added new devices and trying to tie back the existing devices, even if it's a millisecond apart from a code violation, that's something that we just can't do because it could trigger a seizure, which imposes life safety issues.
We had extensive conversations about the alarm system
Yes, sir.
before, and I mean, it's really surprising to me to see $100,000 pop up. Maybe we ought to send this to the engineer, think?
We actually had the engineer come back out and walk the job site. We've had 2 or 3 extensive meetings on this particular item. And quite honestly, this number was a little bit higher than what it was, and we were actually able to bring it down some.
Say that again?
The number.
You beat him down.
Yes.
Oh, good. You didn't beat him down to nothing. You didn't beat him down another 97,761.
Yeah, and trust me, that is a conversation that we have definitely had at great length. But it really just boils down to that system is 30 to 40 years old. So when you're adding.
But we knew that going in. We knew what the system was going in. We had extensive conversations about this particular thing, and we were assured that it's fine, we can reconnect to that.
I understand the same conversation, but once we had the fire alarm contractor in, I mean,
Who's the contractor?
Jack has been a part of those conversations, and quite honestly, when you're trying to tie in the new devices with the older.
Who is the contractor?
I'm trying to. Jackson Electrical.
Is he the fire alarm contractor? He's the electrical contractor.
He's the electrical contractor.
Is he the fire alarm too?
NCI, yes, sir.
Who?
So NCI.
Carl.
I'm dealing with Logan.
So
with
can we
NCI.
put it out to bid?
Can you put it out to bid? No, I mean, this is something that has to be taken care of as a life safety issue.
With the what?
it's a life safety issue, so it's not something that we can actually put out to bid.
There's other people that does it besides one company, right?
Yes, sir, it is, but I mean, with the the amount of renovations that we're doing now, I couldn't recommend kicking
For
the can
$100
on
grand
that.
of Macon County taxpayer dollars that was overlooked, we might could do that.
I can't necessarily say that it was an overlook or oversight.
We talked about it at Lynn. Jack was in the meetings, Mr. Shields was in the meetings, Derek was in the meetings.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
I mean, certainly, yes, we did have the conversations, but things certainly do change
And it
once
was
you
in the
get.
paperwork that we could reuse this panel and rehook to it. That was in the contract.
That was in the contract, but before we added the additional devices, the panel is not the issue. The issue is you're paying for new wires and devices and the labor. You've got devices in that school that are well over 30 to 40 years old, so it
But we
makes.
knew that going in.
Correct, but it makes no sense. You cannot tie in the old wiring with the new wiring
That's
and
what
tie
I
it
do every day
together.
for a living. It makes perfectly good sense to me. If you know it going in, people ain't gonna write you a check.
I can't guarantee that that was 100% when we had that conversation up front. I mean, talking to our prior engineers, they did talk with the current
Did
fire
you fire
alarm rep.
them, or what'd you do with the prior engineer?
Well, they actually left to take other job opportunities, so we still have the same engineering team. But I've gone back and had conversations with them, and they did talk with the fire alarm rep that services that school, and even at that point in time, the rep felt like with what the amount of devices that we were adding, he felt like it would work. Things obviously did change once we got into
Wasn't
the
this in the
renovation.
scope of work, Jack?
The, part of it was, but when we hooked the new panel, because we added more devices, when we hooked it to the new panel, nothing would sync with the old equipment. The old equipment being 30, 40 years old. And it wouldn't sync with the strokes or the horn tube, which you got it going like this, and that will cause epilepsy.
And that's the crux of the issue is when the system itself can be out of sync, but if you have a particular wing or a particular area, that area has to be in sync. So we're talking about what we call the east wing that's facing the front parking lot and the bus loop. If you've got, let's say, 6 old devices and 5 new devices, if those devices are not blinking at the same time, if they're out of sync, even if it's a millisecond out of sync, that is your life safety and code issue where that could cause the seizure.
I understand Commissioner Bill's question. I don't think we disagree with that at all.
Sure.
We want it right. We want it
Yeah, we
100%
want it
right.
perfect.
I guess the question is we hired an engineering firm, we hired you, whoever it was, to do this, and then why wasn't this picked up on initially? Why is this coming to us now? Why wasn't this figured out from the get-go up front? I mean, what's causing a $100,000 error? I mean, is this the NCI's fault that it was not picked up on? Is this the engineer's fault? Whose fault that this wasn't found or wasn't recognized up front?
I mean, I can't necessarily overly blame one particular party.
Where the bailout party is.
Yes, sir. I mean, our engineers, they did the best of their ability to try to make sure that was accounted for. Obviously, they fell short of that.
Do they have errors and emissions insurance?
Yes, I believe they do.
How'd they have them check on it?
I'm inclined, it would have been nice to know about this, right, and you were the liaison, you had those lengthy discussions that I was
We had those
privileged
talks
to.
about because we could say that could be a big ticket number, and we were assured that they could hook everything back up. And even if it had to change, we should have been known about it then, not after, not till we're down to the nitty gritty for $100 grand. But if you're standing there saying that the engineer, missed this,
I mean, I can't 100% say that they fully missed it. Yes, I mean, obviously there was an oversight, but I can't 100% lay the blame at their feet. Again, going back to your original statement, yes, we did have those conversations with the fire alarm vendor that services that school. But in doing so, before we even got to this point when NCI came out to the school, there were, through other parties and other conversations, there were devices that were added to fully bring this system back up to code. And that really and truly is just from a life safety standpoint, as your architectural team members, that's just something that we can't turn a blind eye to or push down the line.
What does your engineer say that missed it? What did he say, I just missed it, or it's an oversight, or?
His direct statement to me was he felt like it was a oversight or I don't want to say a miscommunication or misunderstanding, but it was his recollections when he had the earlier conversations with the vendors, the fire alarm vendors that actually monitored or put that in over the years of the patchworks and the Band-Aids on that system. They felt like it would, stand up to the test, but obviously we're here and that's not necessarily the case.
Does it give heartburn to anybody but me and Paul?
Mr. Manager, what's our contingency, where do we stand?
We started this project with $817,800 in contingency. Chris, you said, you're finishing up phase 2. Now, there's 4 phases on that project, is that right?
It's actually 5. So when we look at it from a construction or square footage standpoint, once we turn over the east wing on the front of the school, we'll be right about 60% complete.
60% complete, with the change orders,
So if we're looking at the change,
A few more $100,000, it won't.
right?
if we're looking at the change order compared to the contingency amount that we have, we're sitting at about 24%.
Right, you
The
got,
object is not to spend it all, you do know that.
Absolutely.
you got $788,882 in contingency tonight. If these all are approved, you'll have $635,044 in contingency tomorrow. And that was, again, out of a beginning contingency balance of $817,800.
Mr. Manager, what's your opinion on the fire alarm system?
My opinion on the fire alarm system is, I share you all's opinion, and I voiced that to Jack from the beginning. That it's something that we discussed from the beginning. It's something that I was under the impression was covered into the contract. And I, like you, have stated here tonight, that's a huge change order. But
In my world, we eat stuff like that.
I eat stuff. We're contractors, so.
We're contractors, do it every day, and we eat it. You ever had to eat anything?
Yes.
Well, would you like to try something else?
No, I would not. But I mean, I will say for a school that of this age, and the percentage of completion of where we are, yes, this is a shocker to the system, but I feel like we are moving in a good target or a good pace of completion where there won't be or shouldn't be any more change orders of this magnitude out of the base bid of this contract.
This is for the entire school. This is not just for the wings that we work.
I know, but that's what we had the discussions about at length. And we were assured, because we know it could be a big ticket item. We knew that.
Correct, but.
That's the reason we had the discussions up front, and,
Yes, sir, Mr. Bill, we did have the discussions, but I think the major point of that is when you're trying to, like I said, merge old devices with new devices, that this cost is basically changing out those old devices so everything is in sync together. Now, yes, we did have those conversations, and when, Fire Marshal actually visited the
is that
site.
the best price we could get on for $100,000?
Yes, I've asked the contractor to go back to the table multiple times.
We started at $111,000 today for this.
We had,
Started
we.
what, Jack?
Originally, it was $111,000.
But I mean, I will say for a school that is going through an active renovation, I couldn't recommend on good faith, pushing that down the line.
Can I have just a second? Talking about your heartburn, I'll tell you what gives me a little bit of heartburn is the windows. And I talked to Mr. Morgan about that. That was, in my opinion, one of the main reasons we're renovating the school, am I right? The metal windows are rotting out. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but now we're not able to change the windows because they're structurally, holding up the wall. But I feel like what we're having to pay versus what we're getting credit for I mean, the ratios just don't add up, and I'm not a contractor, but to me, it seems like that's a very large part of the scope of changing out these windows. And now to kind of piece them together, it seems like we should be receiving a credit.
So the windows, that was a completely separate issue. To kind of summarize that from the beginning, yes, when the contractor mobilized on site and started doing some of their selective demolition for those windows conditions, we actually figured out that you cannot take out that steel frame on that school without putting in other structural supports. We've gone through that exercise on that particular item. And quite honestly, it was in the best interest to leave those steel windows. Now, we did replace the window itself. If you looked at the condition, you had the frame and then you had the window that was welded to that frame. So what we did was we took out the actual window with the glass, remodeled the frame, and then put in new storefront windows. So yes, I mean, you did get new windows. Part of that with COVID, the aluminum and the glass for those were on delay. Those are on site. So the windows that, say for example, in the cafeteria, those will be scheduled for replacement. The window system for the SRO office in the front, that is on, it was on delay, obviously because of the shipment delays, but that will be installed as well. So you're still getting new windows throughout the entire school for the areas that we identified, but was it 100% the original intent, what we thought we could do? No.
All right, so how do we proceed, Mr. Manager? What do you recommend?
Well, I think that we've heard the architect lay out the facts here, and I think we proceed however the board's so inclined.
So I think we can get an approval.
Great answer, Darrell.
I think we can, I mean, I'm thinking myself here, I think we get an approval on change orders 6, 7, and 9. And the question is, the big one's on number 8.
Let me ask you one more thing, Chris, about number 8.
Yes, sir.
Where are you at in that process? Where are you at with the fire alarm system? You need it tomorrow, you need it next week, or 3 months down the road?
That is something that we're going to need pretty soon. Like I said, as a life and safety standpoint, that was something that we cannot hold up. So part of that work has been completed in that center area of phase 1, which we call S1 and S2. East wing is just about complete on that as well. So the next phase is to move on to the, what we call the 95 edition, or the northeast wing.
Mr. Chairman, what I'd strongly recommend is if it's going to delay the project, we have no much choice, but I would encourage our attorney to get all the information from the architect for this engineering firm, and drop them a note with a bill.
Jack, I don't want you to, go ahead. Yeah, I know.
This is for no other purpose than for life safety for the kids that are there. We could not stop with school beginning to not make everything work. We had to make everything work. Part of this work has been done, yes. But it's to get the whole school, the whole fire alarm system to current code standards, which is something that we wanted anyway.
Sure.
And believe you me, neither Chris nor myself would be here tonight asking for this if we didn't feel it was a project.
No.
We don't want to cause any hindrance to life safety for anybody.
But over the years, a lot of us been here for a long time, we see these things and we've learned to question them. You know, it's not just a free, you know, because we've got a contingency, the object's not to spend it all.
No, absolutely. We typically pride ourselves.
Some people don't
in
realize that, we just want to make sure.
No, I completely understand. I mean, as designers, we try to pride ourselves in minimizing, if not having change orders on projects, but, I mean, for a
But I
school
would
of
recommend
this
we
age.
ask for at least an explanation from the engineer. I think that nothing but fire. But if it was on our job, I knew you would, or your job either, Jim.
I agree, I'd be all over it if it was nothing.
But, I mean, like I said, it piggybacks off your conversation, Mr. Beal. Yes, we did have that conversation. However, just quite honestly, from the conversations that we've had from NCI, we've put Band-Aids on the system for 30 or 40 years, and it just can't take any more Band-Aids.
We can't help that.
I mean, I know we can't help it, but we can't ignore life and safety either.
We ain't ignoring nothing. We're going with what your engineer said he could do.
It'd have been nice to have warning on this.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, $100,000 is a, you know, when you've had the conversation, if it was something brand new that we said, oh, we uncovered that and, you know, we didn't find that.
Oh, absolutely. I
We
mean,
talked about in detail with the old system compared to the new system. Oh, yes. No problem.
And that came from the engineering firm.
You were right there, yes,
I'm
sir.
going to defer to the liaison, school board liaison.
Yes, sir. We had that, we had that, and we was very concerned about the fire alarm and security systems. That was two things that, the general stuff, and like Josh brought up the windows. I didn't know that they was welded frames that were supported with no headers. It sure looked like it. If you just look at them, you would swear that it was. You
No, I
could
mean,
take the whole frame out.
I could walk you on that. I could walk you on that school now where we took out bricks at the head jam and the seal, took some pictures, stuck cameras in there. Quite honestly, when you pull the brick out, the vermiculite falls.
Yeah.
So it's,
And I did,
and even in the seal condition, I've got pictures I can send to you. There's no solid brick. That brick is being held up
by
under
the windows.
by the wire, actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That I understand, but I don't see no reason, you know, we can't hold up the project, but we need to know that this board will, when you get $100,000, I think that if our attorney seems that's necessary, just to ask for an explanation.
Good with that?
I work for y'all, so I can do whatever you
Can we get a motion to approve or disapprove based upon one of the liaisons? So go ahead, yeah.
I mean, is the direction we're taking is, I imagine the fund, to send it to legal, let it get kind of tossed back and forth with legal counsel, but in the meantime, we fund. Is that what this motion is, to
Yeah.
fund it?
That's what I'm thinking.
We got
yeah.
I know the kids are suffering. I mean, I think in one wing, they don't have heating and air conditioning. Maybe they do now, but I would hate to keep delaying this process to bicker over $100,000 on $11 million. It's tied up in
Sure.
legal.
I don't think anybody's, yeah, I think we're ready to go. for it.
Yeah, I know.
we
I know.
got
In
Make that
the,
form of a motion.
I know in the air.
Motion, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, to answer your question on the air
Second
conditioning
by
side, they're
Commissioner
actually
Shields.
scheduling to change those out.
All in favor
pretty soon.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Nice to
Thank you,
meet
Chris.
yeah.
You'll get with our attorney, Chris.
Good to see you. Be careful going down the road.
Chris, you'll get with the attorney.
Yes, sir. I'll reach out.
Thank you, Chris.
Tell everybody, Charlotte, we said hello.
That's a bad lick. That's a bad lick.
All right, I'm gonna keep us moving. I know it's break time. I'll keep us moving because we're getting close here. Scheduling the public hearing to consider amendments to county ordinance. Eric Ridenhour. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we have a bunch of, all the development ordinances in Macon County have to be brought into compliance with the new chapter of the general statutes, which is 160D. We've started that process. We hope to bring, a lawyer in my office is working on doing that. We decided that was the quickest and most economical way to bring that. We have a total of, how many development ordinances, Jack?
Too many.
Probably it's between 12 and 15 that are actual development ordinances that would fall under 160D. So we're gonna try to bring three rewritten ordinances in front of the board every month. In order to make that happen, on a development ordinance, it's required that there's a public hearing on it to be approved. The commissioners are the ones who have to request and notify that there is gonna be a public hearing. So today, these three are pretty much done. When I say pretty much, the one that's not completely done is the subdivision ordinance. It's in compliance with 160D, but the planning board is still working on the subdivision ordinance, and so we hope to have some rewrites from them within the next 2 weeks. And therefore bring that in, ready to go, so by the time we publish it for notice of hearing, for a public hearing, that will be a final version. If it's not, then that one, we'll just have to delay and reschedule the public hearing. But we've got the three that we think are ready to go, so that is Chapter 159, the subdivision ordinance, 152, the sign control ordinance, and Chapter 111, the sexually oriented businesses. And then next month, we hope to bring three more that will also be ready to schedule for public hearing.
Sounds good.
When will we get, Eric, when will we get the amendments?
They're done, and you are welcome to see them, except for the subdivision ordinance, and I can send those out. They're redlined right now, ready for your review.
That way we can vote on them next meeting. right?
Correct. And then we can also have them available for the public to review and make comment on.
And again, these
Which
are not,
gives you, we don't, oh, sorry, Dave.
these are not changes to the substance of the ordinance. They're merely bringing the ordinances in compliance with 160B of the general statutes, which is a newly enacted statute that requires all counties to bring their ordinances dealing with land use into compliance with this statute. So the only changes made to the ordinance, any of these ordinances, are what is required by the state of North Carolina to bring it into compliance with general statute 160B.
So,
Right, there's no substantive changes. These are, first of all, you have to, most of those ordinances refer to the enabling statute that they were. Now that enabling statute is now codified under 160D. Most of what 160D done was administrative type of changes, such that if you have an appeal or a variance or whatever it is, it doesn't go between this board or this board or this board. It's going to be set before one board of adjustments, and that board of adjustments will be in charge of hearing that appeal, or it's an appeal directly to Superior Court, rather than it going to the watershed committee. And the watershed committee right now consists of 4 members as opposed to 5, and like right now there's a request for a variance before the watershed, and well, they only have 4 members, so that can't be heard. But 160D is switching that all to a
Mr. Council, are there time limits on this, or we got plenty of time? Or-
We're, as far as bringing into compliance with 160D, we're behind time. I think there was, I think that the switching of the guard, possibly from the legal, may have caused that to fall on, well, it just didn't really happen.
But it needs to be done.
Yeah,
Right.
can we get a motion to schedule public hearings for October meeting?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bill, second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification on Commissioner Young, just for the record, your motion on the Macon Middle School project included taking the $153,778 from contingency for change orders 6 through 9.
I think that's what we all understood.
Motion included.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Item 11E, the Wildlife Resource Commission was removed. Good work, Representative Gillespie. We're going to replace that with the Pine Grove School Community Club. I'm going to read a letter that we received 2 days ago, Derek? Yesterday.
Yesterday.
It says, "Dear Commissioners, it is with great sadness that I must inform you that the Pine Grove School Community Club, also known as Pine Grove School Restoration Society, has met and voted to disband and dissolve the organization. Due to loss and lack of membership, age, illness, and the ongoing pandemic, it is no longer feasible to continue. We have managed to maintain and function as a community club for 17 years and are proud of our service. However, it is now time to return the building and its care back to Macon County. We would like to return the use of the building on November 1st, 2021. It is our plan to have the electricity disconnected at that time. In the meantime, we will be removing items that were donated for the club's use or purchased by the organization. Some items will be returned to the previous owners, and others will be donated to other clubs in the Macon County or various charities. It was decided that the remaining funds, after all debts are satisfied, will be given to support several school classrooms in the county. It is our hope that the Pine Grove School will continue to be used as a polling precinct and possibly other functions as the county sees fit. The building has been winterized and will be thoroughly cleaned upon return. We would like to leave some items that can be used by other individuals if the building should be rented or used for other functions, if that is agreeable with the county. Isaac Dills and myself will be honored to continue to check on the building periodically to make sure it is not vandalized or damaged if the county is in agreement. It has been a pleasure and labor of love to have restored the old Pine Grove School building and use it for many memorable events for the past 17 years. We are honored to have been of service to our community and to Macon County. thank you for that opportunity. Sincerely, Catherine Cullen.
These
Okay.
folks have worked hard, and they've lost a lot of members, the leadership, but the restoring of that old building that many of us were involved in has been worth it all, and we hate to see it dissolve, but the building's in great shape, and they've left it in great shape.
I'd ask for this to be put on our agenda tonight versus just an announcement, because I think we got a property that's going to be coming back to the county, so I think we'll have to give the county manager direction if we want to continue power there. He can switch it over to the county's name, or what we're going to do with this. It's not only sort of a historical place in my mind, I remember it for all my life, but it's also one of our polling precincts, and how we handle that moving forward. So I think we need to decide.
I think we need
What we wanna-
to
what we
certainly
wanna
keep
do,
the
so-
power on, and it has a new heating system in it, so, keep the power on, and if it's been winterized, of course, you'll have voting coming up when, December?
March.
March?
What
So-
about insurance?
It'll come
We'll
up
have
the
to add
county's
it to our
umbrella.
property liability.
But the building's in great shape. We redone the whole floor system, everything.
Do we want to have maintenance go by occasionally, and I guess, is
They
it
need
just
to
going to be a
keep it
normal
mowed.
round? Is this a building the county wants to move forward with going on, or are there other entities that might be interested in it?
We would hope, Mr. Chairman, that somebody in the community, they brought back the old Salem Church, and it's still active, and we'd hope the next generation would pick up the mantle at some time. That's what, I think we ought to give it an opportunity.
Okay, so the county will hold on to it temporarily, and good with everybody?
Good.
I don't think we need to vote on it. Just consensus, Derek. I think you move forward with electricity, insurance, and all that. All right, thank y'all. Item 11F, Franklin High School architect.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just to kind of rehash where we've already been, the evaluation committee that was selected to look into the architectural, to the responses for the request for architectural services at the Franklin High School. We had the evaluation committee of Tracy Talent, Todd Gibbs, Chris Baldwin, Carol Arnold, Tommy Cave, Jack Morgan, and our liaisons, Commissioner Young and Commissioner Shields. They're on August 25th, 2021. This committee has met and evaluated the responding. We had 8 respondents, and from those, all of those architectural respondents to the request for qualifications, the committee selected LS3P Associates Ltd. as the most qualified firm. They received a score of 93.88 out of a possible 100. And so what we would be looking for here tonight is to approve the architect LS3P Associates Ltd., approve the architect selected by this committee, and enter into fee negotiations with this architectural group, but only after this architectural group is approved by the school board. And that will be at their September 27th meeting of the school board.
Where are they from?
Raleigh. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but were we not gonna interview the top 3? Shields? I mean, there were 8 people submitted.
The
Am I
school
wrong in
board
saying
chooses
this?
the architect.
We've just received notification today from the school system that this LS3P Associates Ltd., they had taken all of the committee's rankings on the sheets, and they had totaled them, and they received at 93.88 the high score, and so the schools had requested that we consider this. So we can do it however the liaisons want to, though.
Who's the other ones involved? Who's the other architect?
Boomerang Design, Mosley Architects, Clark Nexon, Novus Architects, Cope Architecture, SGA Narmore Wright.
Where did Mosier come in at?
Mosley came in
Where did
second.
Novus come in? 7th?
Novus came in 5th.
Now, that ranking committee was all School employees?
Nope.
Josh and I were.
Did y'all
And
rank?
Jack.
Jack Morgan.
Jack, how did that go? Were we not gonna interview a couple of them? Am I wrong in saying
I
that?
brought that question up, but I think the scores were so, they scored so high that evidently nobody saw the need to.
Yeah, that 93.88 was the total of all of the evaluation committee scores. That was the average score that they received. The next closest one was Mosley Architects at 81.3.
We checked their record, we checked their,
It's, yeah, and what's that gentleman's name?
Mike Watson.
Yeah, Mr. Watson's a part of that firm.
Mike Watson, part of that firm?
Yeah.
He's not part of Novus? He come out of retirement?
He's relocating.
Okay.
The health building at the Southwest Community College, if you ever had an opportunity to be there, the LS3P, they did that one over there.
But
Where you at on
I feel like we need to interview a top three, but
this? I'm
that's,
with you.
that's me. I mean, I just feel like we had 8 people come in. I think that needs to cut it in half, and then we need to interview the top 3.
absolutely,
But
that's what
that's
needs to be
typically how
related back to.
business, I would imagine, works. Hard to turn 8 to 1 without even speaking face to face to them, but.
But isn't it fact that the school board chooses architect?
The school board will choose the architect, that's why it needs, that's why they would have to approve it. Any approval we gave would have to be contingent on school board approval, but I think if our liaisons are wanting to interview these people, then that's what we need to pass back to the school board.
Who would be number 3? We got first
You
and
would be,
second.
LS3P Associates would be number 1, at 93.88.
Mosley.
Mosley Architects would be number 2 at 81.38. And McMillan, Pasden, Smith would be number 3 at 79.38.
And we'll defer again to the school liaison members.
How do you
Everybody
feel
good
about
with
that?
I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
whatever y'all are, the liaison committees, that's your call.
Okay.
I think the top 3 there.
And I feel like, I mean, we need to at least hear them out.
And who's gonna interview them?
This evaluation
That
committee.
committee?
Good with that. All right, consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve unless there's something somebody'd like removed?
So move, Mr.
Got
Chairman.
a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Higgins, second by Commissioner Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have appointments, we have Michael Mathis to the Watershed Review Board for 1 meeting.
That must have been hard up for members.
I'd like to,
He's a good person.
yeah, Michael, he's, of course, he works through the town of Highlands, and he's very familiar with that. So I'd be glad to
Got a motion
nominate
by
Michael for that position.
Commissioner Bill, second by Commissioner Shields, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think we do have, do need a closed session for the purpose of potential property acquisition. Is there anything else, any other reason? And I'm not expecting any action on property acquisition. Mr. Attorney, anything else?
I'm not aware of any. If you'd like to cite the statute of 143-318.11 on that closed session.
143-318-11 on the closed session. Can we get a motion to go into closed
So moved.
session? Motion by Commissioner Bill, second by Commissioner Shields, all in favor? Aye. And again, I'm not expecting any action, no action. There will be no action. Not only not expecting any, there will be no action.
Thank y'all.